Hello students, this is Miss Dalton. This is notes 3-6, which is factor binomials. We also call this the difference of squares, and you'll see why in just a minute. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to rewrite this polynomial because it is missing the x term. So I'm going to rewrite it to be x squared plus 0x minus 64. Okay, and here's what's going to happen. We're going to go ahead and make our t-chart. So we're going to multiply our a and our c, which is going to give you negative 64x squared. And we want two numbers that will multiply to give you negative 64x squared, but add to give you 0x. Well, hopefully you see that what multiplies to give you negative 64x squared that adds to give you 0x is negative 8x times positive 8x. And that will give you a 0x. So we could go ahead and we can make our box. And we're going to put our first term, which is this term right here, this a term, x squared. We're going to then put the terms that we got from our box, from our t-chart, negative 8x, and then plus 8x, and then last but not least, our last term goes in here, so minus 64. Then you're going to fact out a common factor. Well, in the column, our common factor is x. In the second column, we have to bring out that negative, and then what could be divided out of that is an 8. And then in our top row, x squared minus 8x, it has a common factor of x. In our bottom row, I'm going to bring out that plus, and I'm going to divide out an 8. Okay, so our binomials are x plus 8 and x minus 8. Okay, now what we can do is we can skip all of this box in the middle here if we just recognize that x squared minus 64 is a difference of squares. And what we mean by that is that x squared is a square, a perfect square, and 64 is a perfect square because 8 squared gives you 64. And the difference, that just means that you're subtracting in between them. So if you notice that from the very beginning, you'll be able to go ahead and factor it out, because if you notice, the square root of x squared is x, and that goes in your first position, and then the square root of 64 is 8, and that goes in your second position of each binomial. And then you're just going to have one of them be plus and one of them be minus, and that way it gets that middle term to be equal to 0. And so here is our two factors for this problem. Okay, moving on to number 2. When I first look at this problem, I want to see if I can find a GCF. And in this particular problem, there is a GCF. We could factor out a 2, and we could also factor out an x, so 2x. So let's go ahead and divide that. 8x to the third divided by 2x is 4x squared. And then 18 divided by 2 is, so that would be a minus 9, and x divided by x, that just cancels. Okay, so what's in my parentheses is a binomial, and whenever I see a binomial, it's always kind of a red flag to check to see if it's a difference of squares. So let's see, is 4x squared a perfect square? Well, yeah, because 2x times 2x would give me 4x squared. And then is 9 a perfect square? Yes. 3 times 3 gives you 9. And is it a difference of squares? Yes, there's a minus there in the middle. So when you factor it, you're still going to have that GCF on the outside, so 2x. And then you're going to make your two sets of parentheses, and 4x squared will factor to be 2x and 2x, because we just said that that was the square root of that. And then the square root of 9 is 3, so that's going to go in the second position. And then to get that middle term to cancel out and be 0, we just need to make one of them plus and one of them minus. You can always double check it by multiplying it back to make sure you got the correct answer, but this is the correct answer. Okay, Alright, so this is the last video before Thanksgiving break, so I hope you all have a very restful and happy Thanksgiving with your family. Please be thankful for what you have, and I will see you in a week.